Hey, I'm Mike Gilliam, and welcome to Let It Rip. We're coming to you from the CUNY TV studios in the shadow of the Empire State Building in New York City. It seems like we've been talking about the midterm elections forever, but now they've arrived, and with them, a lot to unwind. These midterm elections are some of the most important ever. There are so many questions, many of them concerning what issues voters are being driven by, from the economy to reproductive rights to voting rights to whether or not democracy survives in this country. All of that plays out against the backdrop of a politically divided country, a divided Congress, and a former president under numerous criminal and civil investigations, while flirting with another run for the White House, while many of his supporters who took part in the January 6th insurrection have been tried, convicted, and are in jail. Here to help us break it all down, we have a great panel. Joining us, the executive director of the Kings County Democratic Party Committee, Yamel Speight Miller, the host of the Thought Project podcast at the Graduate Center, and professor of international and public affairs at Columbia University, Tanya Domi. I'm Mike Gilliam, and this is Let It Rip. With the country so divided, and with Republicans putting up so many of these candidates that are deniers and things of that sort, are you surprised that things are so close across the country?
No, I'm not surprised at all that things are so close. Recognizing that today that we do have division within our country and we have views that are ultimately dividing us further, with the race coming up right, at this moment and the matters that are on the table, I'm not surprised at all that these races are close.
Mm-hmm. Tanya, are you at all surprised with all of the election deniers and Herschel Walker in Georgia and that sort of thing?
Yes and no. What I'm not surprised about is how the races have really tightened up, and going into the election, it just seems that I think what's working against Dems right now is the economy, the inflation. Everything's much more expensive, and it's hurting people. Lots of people are hurting because of this inflation, and unfortunately, it's not unique to the United States. This is a global phenomenon. But explaining that to voters, I think, is really hard. It's challenging. I think that the deniers coming out of the Republican Party, this is who they are. They've been telling us over and over who they are. And it's also clear that Trump himself has been picking a lot of these candidates. And there's even some split among Republicans. I mean, the minority leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, said that, you need quality candidates. And I think that was in response to a question about Herschel Walker as an example. So we're going to see how that's going to play out. But I'm not surprised because I think the Republican Party has gone down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. You touched on something that I've wondered about quite a bit during this campaign and this cycle, and that is the messages from the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Do you think they've fallen down on messaging here?
Well, I think the Democratic Party's always been challenged on messaging, and the reason why is because we are, the Democrats are much more nuanced, and they don't break down policies. It's not every policy is bumper. You can't bumper stick, put it on your, your car, every message. But
right.
There's a lot of good things they have to sell right now, and I do see individuals doing a pretty good job at it, Dems who are on the campaign trail, but I don't see it coming out of the DNC. I mean, I think it should be like talking points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just be repetitive. The Democrats have never been good on this, and I do think they've been talking a lot about Dobbs. I think Dobbs is baked in. If you're pro-choice, you're going to be voting for Dobbs. We're going to see how that messaging resonates with independent voters. We'll see. But I think that you have to do both. You got to talk about the economy, and then you've got to remind people that our democracy's on the line, and you've got to do it over and over. and I'm still not seeing it as a systematic. I'm not seeing it systemized yet.
Okay. Now, let me ask you a quick question on this. Where do you think the country is right now? What are you hearing on the ground? Are people only thinking about the economy, or are you hearing other things?
I don't think that people are only thinking about the economy. I think that people are looking at the economy. I think that they are looking, and what I'm hearing actually is they're looking at longevity and individualism and freedoms. What we're looking at right now is the reproductive rights. I mean, this is something that is challenging everybody. And I think not only the Democrats, is actually challenging the Republicans as well. But like what was said earlier, visibility is where we are lacking in making sure that what we stand for as the Democratic Party is getting to the ground and getting to the registered voters so they have clean and clear understanding on the agenda at hand. And I think that that is definitely what's impacting us.
One of the problems has been whether or not the Biden administration has been doing enough for communities of color in order to get out the vote during this particular election cycle. What do you think about that?
I want to say that there may be some truth there. Getting out the vote is essential. It's important. We look at, for example, Kings County. We have 22 districts within the county, 22 district leaders, male and female. On the ground in the county, we are taking steps as far as going to each district and working with that district leader to make sure they are informed on who the candidates are, if they need literature and material, talking points, which is what we talked about earlier, and more importantly, understanding what the issues are in those respective districts. This is what we're doing on the ground just as a county. I don't want to say that we're not being supported by the Biden administration, but I will say the county is taking the initiative because we recognize the severity where if this information is lacked, it will impact the outcome of our election.
How are you seeing that?
When the first announcement on how much money the DNC was going to invest in voting rights and information to voters, it was about $22 million, and I thought, that's not enough. That is just not enough. And you've got states like Texas and Georgia where they've got voting rights projects in those states that are really working hard. But $22 million for a country of over 300 million people is just, that's not even a drop in the bucket, in my view.
I want to move forward now, though, and talk about the vote for democracy.
Yes.
And whether or not democracy survives this midterm election. How do you feel about that, Yamila? Do you think that democracy is really on the line right here? Could we lose democracy?
I want to say that we can. I want to say the potential is there. I want to say that we saw the warning signs. We see them every day. We, in New York State, we have the Black, Hispanic, Puerto Rican Legislative Caucus annually. And our note this year was standing up for a demand for democracy. We brought it to the forefront because we want people to know that democracy is right here on your table, and you can lose it. You can lose your table. It can walk right out the door if we do not avail ourselves to what the challenges are in this midterm election, what the challenges are with the candidates that are on the line here, and how it can impact the trajectory of the generations to come for all of the hard work that we have been involved in to establish democracy here in, I want to say, the greatest state of New York and in the country. Democracy has always been the icebreaker to civility, to equality, and to a surety for our nation. And we are at that space now where we are at stake of losing it with what is on the table, certainly.
I only have about 5 seconds left. How do you feel about that?
Well, absolutely. American women are already losing the democracy because they've lost the autonomy to seek out health care and exercise their choice about their own bodies. And so as far as I'm concerned, everything's on the table. And if it happens that you get a slim majority of Republicans in the Senate and the House, I think they will gut everything that we have worked on in the last 75 years.
Okay, that's going to have to do it for now. We'll have to sit down again at some point and review the winners and the losers and how they're performing. I want to thank our guests, the Executive Director of the Kings County Democratic Party Committee, Yamel Spate Miller, and the host of the Thought Project podcast at the Graduate Center and Professor of International and Public Affairs at Columbia University, Tanya Domi. Thank you for coming on. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll take another look at the midterms from the student perspective, what matters most to them. And a little bit later, a musical guest with a message. Tyliba will perform her song, Better Believe. I'm Mike Gilliam, and this is Let It Rip. Welcome back. I'm Mike Gilliam, and this is Let It Rip. We've been talking about the midterms and where voters stand. Now we want to get a different perspective. We want to hear from younger voters, students, to try to get an idea of what issues are most important to them, and also whether they believe the two major parties are speaking to them and earning their support at the ballot box. Here to offer a little insight, we have two guests, the managing editor of the John Jay Sentinel, which is of course part of CUNY, Lauren Braithwaite, and a former student council president and Medgar Evers alum, Zakiya Fletcher. Welcome to both of you. Lauren, coming into the midterms, were students on campus stoked about the election? Were they up for it?
Surprisingly, no. In my time speaking with a lot of students, they actually don't believe they fit into any party anymore. There's a lot of voter apathy among students. They are disappointed with the Republican Party with overturning Roe v. Wade, and they're also disappointed with the Democrats in their efforts of criminal justice. They think they can do more. They're also disappointed with their handling of the economy. They blame Democrats for high inflation rates right now.
Oh, even though it's a worldwide problem.
Yeah, some people don't see it that way.
Is it a situation where they think they're just lashing out at anyone because, in fact, things are not good?
I think so. I do think that's what it is. They're just upset with everything in general. They're mad with the constant squabbles that are happening in the chambers. They're mad with the arguments, with the insurrection that just happened on January 6th, and they're fed up, for a lack of a better term. Yeah.
Zakiya, what are you hearing on the ground?
Well, Mike, to be honest, I think people are fed up because the cost of living is way too high. I mean, the economy is crazy. You go food shopping and you're barely making ends meet. I mean, as a student, you can't even afford to live in your state right now. So there is a ton of issues that are really upsetting. Gas prices are unaffordable. And you have to, I mean, families right now are making decisions either at the pump, at the grocery store, and also making decisions with, am I going to pay my rent? Am I going to be late for rent? Or am I going to put food on the table? So I do think Biden has made some strides with the giving tuition and the money back for people who took out loans. So that has helped a little bit, but I think it's far too little too late.
Mm-hmm. So I have to ask you and push back just a little bit on that. From a student perspective, so are they saying that what they're paying for a gallon of gas outweighs this whole notion of democracy possibly going away, or does that even fit into the equation?
I believe the equation in terms of democracy going away is something that for students, especially minority students, is saying, did we ever really have democracy for us? What does democracy look like for women of color, for people of color, for people who have for a long time been marginalized and who right now are being pushed out of a state that they can't afford to live in? So, I mean, honestly, they don't see it as democracy going away because they don't really say we ever had a real grasp on it.
Wow, interesting. So what do you think happens at this point? Do these people not vote, just sit it out?
So from the majority of students, I've heard that they will vote, but there's a small group that says they won't. Mm-hmm. But for the ones that are voting, they're voting based on reproductive rights and on the economy. So it's interesting to see how that will play out. Mm-hmm. But I think the majority of John Jay students will vote blue.
Mm-hmm. How do you see it, Zakiya?
I see that people will participate and vote, but however, I do see this as an opportunity for nonprofits and for groups who are doing the work on the field to really step up, because then it doesn't become a political standpoint what the rights of either rights of reproductive rights or even rights of affordability. So that work will always be done whether there is a Democrat or Republican in office. Right. So I really see a lot of people saying, you know what, this is an opportunity for us to either start nonprofits parents to really focus on the issues, or even different groups to focus on the issues that are not really getting covered by any party.
Well, does either party speak more to your interest or to students' interests at this point?
I think Democrats living in a state like New York, I can't speak of any other states, but I think living in a state like New York, we have always gone aligned with the Democrats, in the city. Right, we have always aligned with Democrats because we are more liberal-minded, and we do think that it is a woman's right to choose and things like that. And we are welcoming and diverse community is always a place of diversity. So we have always aligned with the Democrats. So I would say most people will go with the Democratic Party, but there are a lot of issues that the Democrats are not really addressing, and that is angering.
So is this really kind of a leverage argument, though, because we have a situation here right now where we have a close election? Some students are saying, well, like maybe, maybe I would go Republican. Or given the things that they've said, is that what's going on? Or
I don't believe that they would go Republican, take it to that extreme, but I think it would be something like when you saw against Hillary Clinton during that election, that they'll sit it out. That had the lowest number of registered Democratic voters that did not participate, that chose not to participate.
Lauren, how do you see it?
Well, I don't think they will change their registered party, but I do think they're willing to experiment. And I think they may be willing to vote Republican just to see how that will change things for New Yorkers, for New York City residents.
But that could be dangerous, couldn't it?
It could be dangerous. It really could,
because
yeah.
we're talking on one hand about reproductive rights, and you just saw that wiped away.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
I do think, like you said, it is an opportunity of leverage. It is an opportunity of leverage because it has to be what we are concerned about being at the forefront on the table. Criminal justice right now, yes, we know that we are facing crime right now in New York State, and I think crime all over. We have a lot of hot topics about gun rights, and that is a very hot topic. But however, there needs to be a way that we are addressing it that is equitable, that we are also not just dealing with the symptoms, but dealing with the root causes of the issue.
We've talked a lot about the issues that are affecting students and young people right now. I want to talk a little bit about the future, though. You have this American dream, and that is to finish your education, buy a home. That's usually part of that, build some wealth and that sort of thing. Do you guys feel that you will ever be able to attain the same things that your parents may have attained, or have a better life than your parents, or not, given what's going on now politically?
I see that American dream further and further away right now. When you look at the average student, they're living with 5 roommates. Even with that, even when they graduate, they still have all this debt of student loans, and it's getting further and further away. And we know that even the prices of homes and being able to take out a loan for a home, even being able to take out a loan for a car, simple things like that are just getting even further and further away from us. So
I saw a $150,000 Cadillac the other day.
yeah, it's
150 grand.
It's not. It's like, come on. So everything is just getting expensive. And I think in the future, long term, what students are really looking at is even being able to get that job, to land that first job, that their income can be able to pay their rent.
How about you, Lauren? Do you think that American dream, in quotes, do you think that's still available, or do you think it's being pushed further away?
I actually agree with my friend here. Just looking at my parents' struggles, like they're Jamaican immigrants, and coming here was difficult for them. And I see how my mother struggled economically and how she still does. And I know that even if I try my hardest and I do well in school, get a great job, getting the same home that we have now is 10 times harder now than it was for her then. So I do believe for a lot of people, especially people that look like us, it is slightly unattainable, yeah.
Trust me, we all went through that portion of it where that house cost the family X amount of dollars, and now it's 10 times that much to buy the same house, so it's kind of tough. What about loan forgiveness? You're going to give Joe Biden and the Democrats props on that, or was it too little?
I'd give him props, yeah. That's a great accomplishment he's done. It's going to help a lot of students. It's going to help even my family members that are like older, right? And they still have student loans that they're paying off. So $10,000 may seem like little, but it's a lot when you're paying it over time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Continues to multiply.
I think it's good. It's very good. You know, kudos to Biden. I really, I think it was a big thing just for him to be able to do it and to accomplish it. Because I believe a lot of different other administrations have tried to do it for so long. But I do believe giving inflation and giving the price even now to go to school when the prices of tuition, that gap is so big right now. So I would have to take, so if I'm right now a junior in college, I'm still going to have to take out a loan. And by the time I graduate, even though $10,000, that $10,000 is not going to be worth giving the measure of inflation. So yes, it's great right now, but looking long term, even when I graduate, how much of it is really, what is it going to be worth? You know, so I do say it is a good job. He did do a good job, but you know, there's always more that could be done, I think. So sometimes I believe that because it hasn't been done in so long, we want to accept the little things when we applaud the little things, but it should be more bigger, because I mean, we do live in a great United States. This is a great country, one of the most wealthiest nations. When you look at how much is spent on, you know, oil, how much is spent, you know, packages that are sent overseas. Yes, we want to help Ukraine and we want to help other countries, but we have to see how much is really billions of dollars. You know, and I'm here and a student is here struggling, and then we have to applaud $10,000. We give it an applaud, but then when we look at the bigger scheme of things, it's a little drop in the bucket.
Okay. One last question. We only have a few seconds left here. On the campuses, who are you hearing from the most, Republicans or Democrats, as far as getting out the vote?
I'm hearing from Democrats mostly.
Yeah, Democrats are rallying.
Okay, good insight there. I want to thank our guests, the managing editor of the John Jay Sentinel, Lauren Braithwaite, and a former student council president and Medgar Evers alum, Zakiya Fletcher. Thank you to both of you. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk a bit about the history of voter suppression and how our voting rights are the result of a lot of bloodshed. And we'll have a musical performance by hip-hop artist Tyliba singing her song, Better Believe. Stay with us. I'm Mike Gilliam, and this is Let It Rip. I'm Mike Gilliam, and welcome back to Let It Rip. Elections often come down to turnout, and this midterm will be no different. But there's a lot on the line, and as people of color who have benefited greatly from the efforts of those who bled and died for the right to vote, we have a duty to use that right for the greater good. A brief look back brings the sacrifices into focus. Look at 1868. White men in Opelousas, Louisiana killed some 250 mostly black Americans to suppress black turnout. Then, in the year 1873, more violence. A mob of about 150 armed white men attacked and killed between 60 and 150 blacks who had taken over a local courthouse. The African Americans were defending it from possible seizure following a controversial election. A clear indication of the lengths that some whites would go to maintain authority. And what about the Wilmington Massacre, where another 60 or more blacks were killed? And who can forget what is known as Bloody Sunday? In 1965, 600 activists marching from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama to protest for black voting rights brutally attacked by state troopers at the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Among them, the late Congressman John Lewis. So violence, intimidation, bloodshed, and death are all a part of the struggle for voting rights. At a time when they're trying to take away your vote, it's time to exercise that right that so many bled and died for. Vote, and make sure others do as well. Now for a little music from Tyliba, performing her song, Better Believe. I'm Mike Gilliam. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Let It Rip.
Life gets hard sometimes, going through the lonely nights, in the midst of the breakthrough, who do you run to? I know very well it's hard. It gets hard. It's filled with all kinds of scars and emotional pain. strong, you know what to do.